Okay, so the deadlift. It's the first one in our series of the kettlebell fundamentals. Okay, deadlift is a really important teaching point just because it kind of reinforces all of the positioning that you'll need for a lot of kettlebell moves going forward in this guide. Okay, so I'm going to show you from a couple of different angles, but basically we want this sort of hip hinge motion. Okay, so for anyone who is well versed in gym movements, anyone who's a newbie as well, you will have seen them online probably. The deadlift is really sort of like a forward fold in yoga with a half lift, okay? And we're keeping, for the purposes of this movement, we're keeping a slight bend in the legs, but we're not doing a squat, okay? So we're not sitting back like this, okay? This is like a squat motion, okay, with the chest up, and your knees bent like 90 degrees pretty much. So the deadlift is a hinge from the hip. So what you're going to do is you're going to, from here, you have a nice strong straight middle, straight center. You're going to hinge that forward, and you'll notice your knees naturally bend as you do so. Okay, so the more flexible you are, the straighter your leg can be. Okay, and this is sort of the motion. You're having like a flat back, and then when you get to the bottom of the deadlift here, you can kind of, for the purposes of using a kettlebell, you sit your hips a little bit lower. Okay, and that will enable you to get this nice flat back. What I want from your gaze is for your neck to be constantly in line with your spine. So a lot of people do deadlifts like this, but you can see your neck is bent at a slightly strange angle. Okay, so I want the head, when you're at the low point here, to be facing down. As you come up, your head follows along your spine. Okay, so if you take your arms out in front like this, and you hip hinge down, you're following your thumbs, okay, to this flat back position, and you'll feel your hamstrings wake up. You'll feel your glutes engage as you stand up. Follow your thumbs, and you're going to squeeze the glutes at the top, but you're not going to lean your hips forward. Again, this is important later. You're going to keep everything nice and straight. Okay, so you've got this triangle. You are squeezing your glutes, but you're not leaning forward. That doesn't get you any extra squeeze. Okay, that just puts pressure on your lower back. So this center point here, your core, want it to be nice and straight and pulled in at all times. Okay, zipped up. You've got a slightly tucked pelvis, as in you're not arching your lower back. It's a tucked pelvis, okay? So when you do the deadlift, you want to step up to the kettlebell. Okay, and this is kind of how you pick up the kettlebell in any scenario, whether you're picking it up to take it to the park or picking it up in deadlift. What you don't do is round your back to pick this up, because what that means is your core is not engaged, and it means your lumbar spine, your lower spine, is taking all of the brunt. So we never pick up the kettlebell like this, okay? It is always in this nice deadlift position, chest pushing slightly forward. You see I've got a slight bigger bend in my knees, sitting back into that stance, okay? My hips are back, my glutes are turned on, my hamstrings are on, my core is in, and I'm looking, my head is positioned, even though my eyes are looking forward right now. My head is positioned, so I'm looking down at the ground. So I've got that thumb line here. Take your hand out in front of you again. And you're going to lift up. Look at your thumbs, squeeze the glutes. Everything is in a nice straight line. Literally right now in a standing plank. Back down. Hinge. So you're now in front of the kettlebell. You're going to grab the kettlebell with both hands. Okay. And from here you're going to do exactly the same thing, but you're going to carry the weight with you. So instead of looking at your thumbs, obviously your hands are going to stay down low, but you're going to mimic as if you were coming all the way up like this. The kettlebell's going to hang here. Okay, so you're in this nice deadlift position. We call it the starting stance. I call it the starting stance. And if you are not super flexible, you can bend your knees a little bit more here, okay? Just to ensure you get that flat back positioning. If you're super flexible, fine, but this is the first time picking up a kettlebell, I would advise that you keep a more generous bend in the knees. All 4 points of the feet, ground down. Okay, toes nice and grounded into the mat. You're going to lift in 3, 2, 1, lift up, squeeze the glutes. Okay, you'll notice the positioning. Kettlebell's hanging nicely in front of me. Shoulders back and down away from my ears. Okay, I'm just in a nice straight position. From here, exactly the same. You lower back down, bending the knees, hinging the hips, flat back. Okay, so you're going to practice a few more times. 3, 2, pull the core in, lift up, feel your glutes engaged, squeeze them at the top, keep everything nice and tight, lower back down. Notice where my gaze is going, on the floor, lift up. As I stand up, it comes up, so my neck and spine are always in line, squeeze those glutes at the top, lower back down. And again, lift up. Don't have to grip the kettlebell too tightly, okay, it's just hanging there. Lower down. Flat back, keep those knees nice and bent, lift up. Any pain in the lower back, okay, is because your core is not properly engaged. So you need to really engage that core, pull it in, lift up, squeeze the glutes. If you don't engage the core and you don't squeeze the glutes, there is nothing protecting that lower back. Lower down, one more time, lift up. And lower down again. Okay, release the kettlebell, stand up in the same way, squeeze the glutes, very nice. So core, glute squeezing protects this area here. You can go away and practice that, okay? And make sure that you bring it to the next tutorial because it's going to be very, very important. So this is really your starting stance for most kettlebell movements, okay? And if you do this correctly, you're going to avoid lots of potential injuries, shall we say.